You're born in 1853 in a homestead near the White Mufalozi River. Your mother cuts the umbilical cord with a sharpened reed. Your father owns 43 cattle. This makes him a man of standing. You're his third son. At 6, you watch your older brothers herd cattle. At 7, you join them. You learn which plants the livestock won't eat. You learn to read weather in the sky. A cousin gets trampled during a river crossing. They bury him the same day. By 12, you can throw a stick and hit a target at 30 paces. Your father gives you your first hunting spear. The blade is leaf-shaped, forged by a man who lives 2 valleys over. You practice the stabbing motion until your shoulder aches. Short, upward thrust. Withdraw. Your father watches and says nothing. This means you're doing it right. At 14, you join an Intanga, an age group. There are 68 boys your age in the region. You live together in a temporary settlement, tending the chief's cattle. You learn who runs fastest, who fights meanest, who tells the best stories when the fire burns low. A boy named Mpande becomes your closest friend. Another boy, Tsechwayo, you avoid. He has a temper. The Zulu king, Mpande Kasenzanga Kona, dies when you're 18. His son, Tsechwayo, takes power. You travel 3 days to attend the coronation. There are 15,000 men assembled. The singing shakes your ribs. Tsechwayo is 43 years old and understands violence the way other men understand rain. At 20, you're enrolled in the Utulwana regiment. Your shield is black. Your spear shaft is 5 feet of dense hardwood. The blade is 18 inches long. You're not allowed to marry until your regiment has washed its spears in battle. This is the rule. Some men in your regiment are already 25 and growing impatient. You fight your first engagement against a raiding party from across the border, 14 men. You kill one of them, a boy younger than you. You feel his ribs separate around your blade. The sensation stays in your hand for 3 weeks. No one speaks about it. This is simply what happens. By 1878, you're 25, still unmarried. The British have built a fort across the Tukela River. Their commander is named Bartle Freer. He sends messages to King Tsechwayo demanding the Zulu military system be disbanded, demanding impossible things. Everyone understands what this means. December 28, 1878. The British issue an ultimatum, 30 days to comply with terms no sovereign nation could accept. You hear this news while repairing a cattle fence. Your hands keep working. January 11, 1879. Tsechwayo calls up the army. You walk for 6 days to reach the royal homestead at Ulundi. 20,000 men gather. The singing starts before dawn and doesn't stop. Your regiment receives orders. You'll form part of the Umchijo regiment now, the sharpeners. You're given extra rations, beef and grain. You eat knowing what's coming. January 17th. The Impi moves out. 20,000 warriors in a column that stretches for miles. You carry your shield, 2 spears, a small bag of roasted corn. You wear minimal clothing, cowhide loincloth, some ceremonial ornaments. The British wear red coats. You'll see them before they see you. You march through dry grass. The sun hammers down. At night you sleep on the ground with 4,000 other men from the Umchijo regiment. Mpande sleeps to your left. You don't dream. January 21st. Scouts report the British have camped at a place called Isandlwana, a hill shaped like a sphinx's head. Your commanders confer. The plan forms. You'll attack from multiple directions, the horns of the buffalo. Your regiment is assigned to the chest, the main assault. That night, you don't sleep. You're not afraid. You've practiced this moment for 15 years. Your body knows what to do. January 22nd, dawn. You're positioned in a valley northeast of the British camp. You can see their white tents. You can count over 100. You can see wagons, horses, men moving between fires. They have no idea you're here. The order to attack comes early. Someone fired too soon, a young warrior from another regiment. No matter, the entire impi rises at once. 20,000 men moving across the plain. You run. Your shield is up. Your breathing is controlled. The man next to you falls, shot through the chest. You keep running. Another falls. You keep running. The British open up with artillery. The sounds make a new sound you've never heard before. One lands 15 feet away. 3 men disappear into red mist. You keep running. Rifle fire now, continuous. The British are good shots. Men drop all around you. You're 50 yards from their line, 30 yards. You can see individual faces now. Young men, boys. Some have mustaches, some don't. You hit their line like a wave. Your spear goes into a man's stomach. He makes a sound. You pull the blade out and move to the next. There is no thinking now, only motion. Stab, withdraw, move. The fighting lasted 3 hours. The British line breaks. Men run. You chase them. Some hide under wagons. Some try to reload. You do what you came to do. By afternoon, it's finished. The British camp is silent except for the flies. You walk among bodies wearing red coats. There are hundreds, maybe more. Your regiment lost over 1,000 men. Mpande is alive. Tsetwayo, the one from Urintanga, is dead. You find water. You find food. You clean your spear. The British will come back. Everyone knows this. They have more men, more guns, more of everything. But today, you won. Today, 20,000 warriors defeated a European army. You walk home. It takes 8 days. Your father's homestead looks the same. The cattle are the same. Your mother cooks meat. You eat. In July, the British return with reinforcements. They burn Ulundi to the ground. Tsetwayo flees. The kingdom falls. You survive the war. You're 26 years old. You marry in 1880. Your wife is 17. You have 4 children. 2 survive infancy. You farm. You herd cattle. Occasionally, British officials come through, taking census data, imposing taxes. You pay. You die in 1923 at 70. Your children speak English and Zulu. The country is called Natal now, then later South Africa. Your grandchildren work in Johannesburg. They've never held a spear. On your final day, you remember Isandlwana, the dust, the sound, the faces. You remember Mpande, who died of fever in 1881. You remember running towards the guns. Then you don't remember anything. Subscribe and comment.